Hey folks, it's Gary Ugaric here again, also known as DJ Funkmaster G, G Money Christmas, whatever, doesn't fucking matter. So anyways, I'm coming at you this time because of the teaser trailer for the new Return of the Living Dead movie that's supposed to be coming out about a year from now. The teaser trailer was released Friday, December 13th. Kind of fitting, a Friday the 13th horror kind of thing. But what I really wanted to talk about is this is actually a message to the filmmakers, the production company with an O Productions. Don't fuck this up. Seriously, do not fuck this up. The Return of the Living Dead franchise has gone through some pretty brutal missteps. Now, I consider Return of the Living Dead 1, 2, and 3 to be canon with each other, not 4 and 5, for a myriad of reasons. And I'm not really going to get into, just let the quality of 4 and 5 speak for itself. So, based on what I've read online, apparently this Return of the Living Dead is taking place 18 months after the original film. So, if the original film took place July 3rd and 4th, 1984, it puts us around December of 1985. Now, they say that it takes place in a small town in Pennsylvania, and that's pretty much all they're really giving away to it. And that makes me kind of suspicious of a couple of things. Number one, they really don't have a budget set yet. And based on the teaser trailer they released, it looks like one of those to gain financing, which is fine. There's people that do that all the time. Nothing wrong with it. However, the resume of the director and writer, I don't know, man. His track record's kind of shit. So, excuse me if I have extremely low expectations, but seriously, don't fuck this movie up. You have so many possibilities. The simple fact that you're doing another Return of the Living Dead film 20 years after the last one ever came out, and I don't even count 4 and 5. So technically you're 32 years since the last canon film came out. But anyways, the fact that you said it happens in a small town in Pennsylvania, this is kind of a great way to go back to origins. And the reason I say this is because if you remember in the first film, Frank says that the entire thing kind of started, and how we get the bodies in the barrel is at a VA hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, you guys mentioned it's a small town. Pittsburgh's not really a small town, but there's a lot of smaller outlying areas. I'm not exactly sure where the VA hospital is in Pittsburgh. I've never been to the VA hospital. Been to Pittsburgh plenty of times. I love it. But you could seriously, if I was the writer, and I have written low-budget stuff that I've made and directed myself, and they suck. Well, they appeal to some people. I admit that they are what they are, So, but in terms of a story, you have a couple of ways you could approach this. You could take it back to the origins and restart everything and have it start at the VA hospital in Pennsylvania and completely play it out. And this way, if this becomes a huge hit, you can move it through its own universe. The second thing I would do, me personally, is after the Louisville situation was cleaned up and everything was collected, the dirt, the zombies, they're put into new barrels. All of these barrels get transported to that old VA hospital. And there's a reason for this. And you can tie it into part 3 a little bit. Is when that outbreak happened at the VA hospital, the U.S. government and the Army took control of that whole building. They built a new VA hospital, blah, blah, blah. And the building is controlled because the contamination level is not really known. Don't know if all of the trioxin was cleaned up. So better safe than sorry. You can seal the building. And then every barrel, because they never used that original ending where all the stuff was stored on an abandoned train line, although you could use that too. The barrels get taken back by the Army to that VA hospital, and they are stored in a vault that was specially made. Now, there's a lore that goes along with this VA hospital. So, because you have the title card that says the events portrayed in this film are true from the first one, you could actually have it being true lore in that the folks in Pennsylvania in these small towns know about the VA hospital. They've heard rumors. And the place is abandoned, or at least they think it is. And they are urban explorers that go out of curiosity. It just happens to happen around Christmas. Like the people that explore dead malls. Have you ever seen where those people go to like malls? And if you haven't, look it up. Look up Rolling Acres Mall. Look up Jamestown Mall. These malls are just, they've been dead for decades and they've just been ravaged by vandalism. Most of them have been torn down now, but the Century 3 Mall in Pittsburgh, perfect setting. These malls have just been ravaged by vandalism. And there's guys that go in there and they explore these things. And it's very creepy. And there's so much possibilities to this. In fact, you could put a CG VA hospital next to the old Century 3 Mall. And since the Century 3 Mall today has been sealed up by the police, that could be the new storage location because nobody's demolishing the actual mall. They've only demolished the parking structure around it. So there's tons of possibilities. Or you could even use it as a movie set. Doesn't really matter. So then, anyways, you get the explorers and somehow they think they're alone, but they get detected by the U.S. military. And the military police show up because the building's being monitored. And they go looking for these guys. And in the process, something happens. Whether it turns into, I don't know, an accidental shooting that pierces one of the barrels and lets this stuff out. Something happens in that the guys are hiding within the barrels and they actually knock one down an abandoned elevator shaft, which causes a problem in and of itself. I mean, there's just so many possibilities that you could do with this and be able to unleash the living dead onto a small or suburbia town. So that's why I'm saying, don't fuck this up and make up some stupid cockamamie plan to this. And do not try to force the comedy. Okay, the great things about the first Return of the Living Dead is the comedy comes from the situation and the response to that situation. You know, you have two guys that just normally working, and you know, one tells the other one a story. He wants to show off the things he does to, you know, show off to this guy. Ooh, excuse me, sorry. It's getting late in the night, you know. Once we get into our 50s, us Gen X people, we start falling asleep by like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm just kidding. Anyways, and then their reaction to what happened brings the comedy. Then, of course, the horror really kicks in after that, you know, because Return of the Living Dead 1 is probably one of the most terrifying zombie movies ever made. I know I saw it when I was 14. That's when it came out. That movie freaked me the fuck out. But, again, to the producers, rights owners, whoever, don't fuck this up. Seriously. If you give us a Return of the Living Dead 4 and 5, you might as well just hang up your hat that says writer, director. You're done. You're going to be done in the horror community. You need to, if you don't have the competency to do it, and based on your previous work, dude, I'm not seeing it. this should really be handed off to somebody a little more competent. Um, Shit, take what is his name, Darren Ramage from the the Saw movies. I mean, he's a good horror director. Hell, Zack Snyder wanted to do a remake of Return of the Living Dead. I'm sure if you approached him, you'll have no problem getting the money. But the other problem you're going to have is he's going to hijack the script. And I've always said that Zack Snyder is a horrible writer. Great visual director, can't write worth a shit. And I love Zack. I really do. I've met him. He's the nicest guy ever. But, let's call a spade a spade. He's a horrible writer. And I think the problem is the people that he partners himself with are kind of yes men, and they don't tell him that shit's not going to work. So they just go with whatever he does. But there are possibilities. Don't get any of these guys like Steve Miner, because we already know what he did to that attempted Day of the Dead remake. That was a fucking travesty. Jeffrey Riddick may have done a great script, but the problem was that movie was plagued with problems right down to the production company involved with it. You need to surround yourself with people that have respect for the original source material of Return of the Living Dead. No qualms about it. When I made my indie horror films, my second zombie film was an homage to Lamberto Bava's Demons, as well as Return of the Living Dead. But I took the humor out of it and kept it more towards horror only. But I did that movie on a very low budget, and I knew what I was doing, and people called it a ripoff. They can call it a ripoff if they want. I don't give a fuck. I love Return of the Living Dead. It was my love letter to Return of the Living Dead, and what I did with it is important. But I hold Return of the Living Dead as on the pedestal of best zombie movies. People say it's Dawn of the Dead. I'm sorry, no, it isn't. Dawn of the Dead is a great movie. It's number 2. The Return of the Living Dead is the best zombie movie ever made, period. So this is why I'm making a video talking to you to not fuck this up. Please, for the love of God, don't fuck this up. And I wish you the best. I'd be more than happy to volunteer anything I can, if ideas, script polishing, whatever. I also work with another guy who's a really great writer. I'm sure he would be willing to take a stab for you, but please, for the love of God, don't screw this up, and don't try to do what you're trying to do on get a budget. Get at least $10 to $12 million, because anything less than that, you don't have the capabilities or the resources of Blumhouse, which can take a $3 million movie and make it look like a $40 million movie. So that's the other thing I would suggest, maybe going to Jason and seeing what he can help you do. But yeah, don't fuck this up. And the nice part is since Orion Pictures doesn't really exist anymore, and Lorimar Pictures doesn't exist anymore, they just kind of got absorbed into Warner Brothers. With Blumhouse having a deal with Universal, that would give you an avenue for wider distribution from a studio with a respected name. And we already know what they did for the Dawn of the Dead remake, Shaun of the Dead. They did what they could with Land of the Dead. You couldn't help that. It was just put at the wrong time of the year because Doom was, so bad they had to recut it. So they swapped Doom's release date with Land of the Dead. Land of the Dead it was just a bunch of lip service to the fans, and it didn't really, it's got its moments, but let's face it, it's not a very good film. The last 3 Romero entries were garbage. And I'm saying that as a fan. People can tear me up all you want. I'm sorry. Land of the Dead, Diary of the... Well, I like Diary a little better, but Land, Diary, and Survival are... yeah. That man almost destroyed his legacy just with Survival of the Dead alone. Anyways, this is all I'm saying. As a true fan, as somebody who has had discussion after discussion with horror groups who did a zombie film on a very low budget, and with, Return of the Living Dead always on my mind in terms of tone and everything else, please don't fuck this movie up. That's all I ask. Give us something true to the legacy. And I promise fans will love it. You start turning in crap like your previous films and start throwing in nudity without serving a purpose. Trash's nudity served a purpose because of her lifestyle and what those people were doing at the time. Just to show a girl with big tits walking around naked just because you want to throw titties serves no purpose. So please, I have faith in Tony, who I know is working on the new Tar Man effect costume. I have very little faith in everybody else. So please don't fuck this up. Thank you.